गदैर्माणिक्यत्वं गगनमणिभिः सान्द्रकटितं क्रीडं ते हैमं हिमगिरिसुते कीर्तयति यः सनीडेय छायाचूर्ण शबलं चन्द्रशकलं तनुः शौनासीरं किमिति न निपत्नाति तिषणा.
Hello and welcome to Practical Talk Time. I'm your host, Mary Larew, and I'm very thrilled to be here today to interview Usha Kumar, who is a regular host of this show, and today we put her on the hot seat to find out about some Carnatic music. Usha, thank you so much for agreeing to speak with me today.
Thank you very much for putting me in this hot seat.
Great. Well, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Carnatic music, otherwise known as South Indian classical music.
Yes, it is.
And I want to start with what may be a basic question for some, but for others, we're not quite sure what it means. What does Carnatic mean?
The word Carnatic itself refers to the region of India, the south
in the south
of India.
Oh.
Yes. And about 14,000 years ago, there was a bigger landmass there in the peninsula than there is now. And I think most of the land sank into the ocean, into the sea. And now we have a smaller piece of Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, which are all part of this Carnatic region.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And are you from this region of India yourself?
Yes, born and raised there in that region.
Wonderful. Well, speaking of basic terminology again, I know as a Western classical musician, when I hear the phrase classical music, I think from Bach to Beethoven. But that's not really what this is about, is it? What is classical music from a Carnatic perspective?
Classical music from the Carnatic region really originated a long time ago. They started with very simple notes, just 3 notes, and then 5 notes, which I did mention in the workshop that I did last year at the Music Center in Danbury. So starting from those basic notes, Carnatic music evolved with certain rules, like grammar. Just like for a language, you have grammar to help you to make sentences. So in music, we just take those notes, and there is a certain rule in which you go up and down with it, creating different tunes. And that is how it was created. And because it was so structured, and then it kept growing so beautifully upon the solid foundation that it had. And we know about it because we have literature, written poetry and written prose that describes how music originated, how it was in the old times. And it was all written down by the 3 Tamil Sangam poets and writers. And they spanned, I think, a good 14,000 years.
Wow, 14,000 years.
Yes.
That's amazing. I mean, to me, when I envision Bach, I think, high heels and a wig, and this is just way before that even. It's
there was this great big culture over there, and that was the Carnatic region with their Tamil culture.
Wonderful.
And that is why Tamil is a language also which is one of the most ancient, if not the most ancient language in the world.
Wow. So the language and the music kind of went hand in hand?
Went hand in hand.
Wonderful.
That's where it started. However, today, if you look at Carnatic music, it's being sung in at least 5 languages that I know of. And I'm sure we can expand it to English and other European languages.
Oh, wow, that's fabulous. Great. Well, tell me a little bit about your own training as a musician of Carnatic music.
For me, I'm the 6th child in my home, and I have 4 sisters. The eldest sister is about 13 years older than I am. So by the time I was born, she was singing so well already and taking lessons. And for me, it was just listening to her and the other 2 sisters who played an instrument called the veena. That is again very specific to this Carnatic music.
Is that like a string instrument?
It is.
Okay.
It's a stringed instrument, and at some point you can look it up, always online. Just put it V-E-E-N-A, and it'll show up all the pictures and probably even music that the veena makes.
Wonderful, great.
So I grew up listening to music, and then I originally started learning classical dance. And after a few years of dance, my parents found that I was effortlessly singing all of my elder sister's songs without taking a single lesson. And that's when they formally started me under Anantagopalan.
And that was your guru, am I right?
He was my guru,
okay.
And he was kind enough to come to my home at least 3 days a week in the morning, and we had an hour or hour and a half of class before I went to school every day.
Oh my goodness.
And he himself was a student of the, Tyagaraja Sishya Parampara. And Tyagaraja is one of the trinity of music, and he has composed over 2,000 songs. And he himself had some disciples, and then I think those disciples taught their family members. Very often it was passed down just within the family. And then my teacher went to the family that taught this music and went and learned from them.
Oh, wow. Well, I loved how you described that your parents discovered that you were effortlessly singing this music, because absolutely when I've heard you sing, you make it sound easy, even though it's incredibly challenging music. And could we hear a track of you singing? Would that be?
Sure, we could probably.
Great.
The next number, I guess. Number 51 or 58? Not the video, we are looking for the CD. Number. Looks like they have the video. Okay, looks like they had just turned on the video clip, not the CD.
Well, that brings us to something else I wanted to ask you about, which, so as you know, and the folks at home may or may not know, I am privileged to work at the Danbury Music Center as the executive director. And this past year, we were so thrilled that you came and led a terrific workshop and performance of Carnatic music last November.
It was my pleasure.
Oh, well, it was just a mind-blowing experience to participate as a Western classical musician. The way you taught was so accessible, but yet challenging, interesting. All of the Western musicians who participated left just excited and full of new ideas. And you're coming back, and we're thrilled this summer, July 8th through August 11th, Wednesday evenings. And so I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that. And you have some clips from the workshop, and just to give folks a little taste of what to expect. Could we see one of those clips?
Okay, you may be wondering what I just did. The very first one in Gajananam is in a raga called Nate. It's from a very, very old raga that dates back to about more than 10,000 years ago from the Tamil people. In the Tamil old system, it was very sophisticated, especially you violinists and all these string instruments, you will understand that. On the piano and the keyboards, we just have these 12 notes, right? In that one octave, right? You have the black keys and the white keys, and then you start repeating those notes at the different octaves. Here we have, in the old Tamil version, they said that you have this fixed notes, like the do, in your do re mi, you have the do and so, those are the fixed notes. Those are the same fixed notes here. And then we have, in each of the variable notes, like re, mi, there are 4 variations for each note. People who have stringed instruments, have you ever tried playing one note and tightening the string? And what do you hear? It doesn't go ding, ding, it doesn't go like that. It goes ding, right? So you have 4 divisions there. If you go there, so you can go. So those were all counted as different notes. So we had five variables. So 5 times 4 were 20 variables. 20 variable notes, and then the 2 fixed notes. The do and so together make 22 notes. Which is why the Western musicians, when you sing, they say, oh, they are playing all in between keys, we don't get it. They are not in between keys, they are all real keys by themselves. Mukhi Swami is a person who, in the 17th century, said, okay, let's classify all the ragas. We have just ragas running all over the place, thousands of ragas here and there. So let's classify it. And what he did was, he said, there are parent ragas and then there are children ragas. Those were actual words from the Tamil language. Thai, what they called the parent ragas was Thai Niram, and then they called the other derivative ragas as Sei Niram. It was called Niram. Niram is nearly Varnam. What it means, it's a classification, basically. So what he did was, you have.
Okay. Great. Well, that was an excellent. That was pretty much at the start of the workshop, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it was when I was talking about the basic notes in the Carnatic music, so that once you understand what the notes are, then you'll be able to build up on it.
Yeah, wonderful. So, Usha, who would you recommend get involved in this workshop?
Oh, anyone who wants to expand their knowledge of music and try out creative music can join. It'll help if they have a keen ear for music, any music, Western, jazz, classical music. So if you are a music composer, you can come to this class and learn this music.
And when you said keen ear, I love that, because a lot of your instruction is by ear, right?
It is.
You sing something, and then either the students sing it back or play it back on their instrument.
Yes.
Which made me think even maybe folk or rock musicians, I think a lot of those folks learn by ear and could benefit from.
Yeah, they can learn this music very easily because they are trained to just listen and reproduce and learn. And they can easily learn. And that is why you do need a teacher for this music. It's not that you can just learn it by yourself. You do need a teacher who would guide you. And then after that, once you've learned all the fundamentals, then you can go on to learn on your own.
Wonderful. What types of concepts do you think you'll be covering, or what will you have us trying out during the 6 weeks?
Since the Carnatic music is so famous for its beautiful ragas, I will be teaching quite a few ragas, different types of ragas, or sometimes ragas that just flow from one to the other. And that is what I want my, the participants to experience. And of course, in order to make any melody, which is a raga, one has to know the fundamental notes that we are following. And then, of course, then also follows the rhythm that you'll be using, or the tempo and rhythm. So we'll be doing talam, which is the tempo or the rhythm.
Wonderful.
So I'll be trying to teach all of the three. And for those who want to just appreciate music, even they can come to the workshop and learn how to just follow the music and just appreciate it.
That's a really excellent point, because I found, I mean, playing it, I was participating mostly on the violin, and that was deeply satisfying to try it out. But also, I've always loved the sound of this music, but I just had no idea what was going on. So just, as you said, to learn how to follow it and understand it more deeply was absolutely a real benefit to that workshop.
So the raga-based teaching will also continue with actual compositions. And I'm hoping I can do some ancient poetry or composition, and then do something from about 400, 300 years ago, and then also handle a few contemporary ones.
Oh, wow.
But then we only have 6 lessons, so
oh my gosh,
once a week. I don't know how much we can cover, but I'm going to try.
Wonderful. Well, that's very exciting. Should we share just another clip of
yeah, they can continue with the same clip actually if they want, or they can go to the next one.
Shadjam is shortened as Sa. Okay? Sa. Then Rishabham is Re. Gandharam is Ga. Ma. And Panchamam we say Pa. Shruti is the frequency, it's where it's our scale, basically. Shruti is a person's pitch, and it corresponds to a particular frequency of the note. And this Shruti can be moved up and down. No. See, that is where it's okay, what is
remember, I'm not a musician.
Doesn't matter. Today's a lesson. Beginner's lesson. This is first day with the beginner's lesson.
Fun to see. Very nice. And while we were watching that, you mentioned something that's really special about this music is that it's not just about learning individual notes, but even within one note, there are multiple parts to the note.
Yeah.
And that's part of what gives it such an evocative, beautiful sound.
Yeah, the four notes that are embedded in one variable note. And sometimes when for each ragam, we kind of traverse a few of those parts at the same time. And that just by varying the parts that we select, it changes the whole ragam.
Wow.
But you would think you're playing the same key. It's not. Because we pick up certain tones within that key.
Wonderful. Well, I just want to let the folks at home know that if you want more information about how to learn more about Carnatic music, definitely visit danburymusiccenter.org, or you're welcome to call us 203-748-1716. And as I mentioned, Usha will be with us for 6 weeks this summer. But certainly, even if you have a question you want to follow up on, we would be thrilled to be to pass along the message through the Danbury Music Center. So.
And Mary, you were asking for what is Carnatic music, remember? And I wanted to have them play another CD.
Oh yes,
song.
Yes, please.
There was also the title song today. When you listened, you must have watched that and listened to it. And that is also an example of Carnatic music.
When you do it in 3 at a time. Like
not the video clip, it's the CD.
3 again. 1, 2, 3, and repeat.
One of the numbers.
2.
Are they having difficulty with that?
क्रीटं ते हैमं हिमगिरिसुते कीर्तयति यः सनीडेय छायाचूर्ण शबलं चन्द्रशकलं तनुः शौनासीरं किमिति न निपत्नाति तिषणा शिवे शृङ्गारार्द्रा ततितरजने कुत्सनपरा सरोषा गङ्गायां गिरिशनयने विस्मयवती हराहेभ्यो भीता सरसिरुह सौभाग्यजननी सखीषु स्मेराते मयि जननि दृष्टिः सकरुणा.
That is so lovely, Usha. And that's you singing, right?
That's me singing. Wow. Those were 2 verses from the Saundarya Lahari. And that was in the language, Sanskrit language.
Wow. And you've told me a little bit about this piece, and I think everyone needs to hear about it. So,
Saundarya Lahari itself is a collection of like 100 verses, and it's just all poetry describing the beauty and the power of the goddess.
Wow.
And it was made by Adi Shankara sometime in the 400th century, I think.
Wow.
I mean, 400 BC or I'm not very sure about the time because it's not very clear, but it was quite some time ago.
And it's been passed down to us today, and even right here in real time from you to everyone who's listening, which is beautiful. And in that clip, did we just hear 2 parts of it, or was that
Yeah, there
one?
were 2 parts. There were 2 verses. I think one of that was in Shivaranjani Ragam.
Wow. So
each Ragam has a name.
wow.
And there are, I don't know how many ragas there are, really. It's difficult to say.
Huh? but in that particular piece, each of the, is it little bits of the poem are set to a different raga?
Each verse is set to a different
verse.
raga.
Yeah.
And the entire Soundarillari, since it has 100 verses, it contains 100 ragas.
Wow.
And it takes about an hour to sing it from beginning to end.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful.
If they have, they can play one more if there's time.
Great. Yeah, that would be wonderful to hear.
If they want, they can also play the number 71, 58 or 71.
I think it would make a good TV show, just sitting and listening to music.
गदैर्माणिक्यत्वं गगनमणिभिः सान्द्रकटितं क्रीडं ते हैमं हिमगिरिसुते कीर्तयति यः सनीडेय छायाचूर्ण शबलं चन्द्रशकलं तनुः शौनासीरं किमिति न निपत्नाति तिषणा शिवे शृङ्गाराद्रा तदितरजने.
Today about Carnatic music, and I really hope that people will jump at the opportunity to learn more. Again, danburymusiccenter.org for more information, and center is the French way, C-E-N-T-R-E, because we're very fancy. And the phone number 203-748-1716. And thanks so much for watching Practical Talk Time. I'm Mary Larew with Usha Kumar, and we'll see you next time.
When you do it in 3 at a time. 3 again, 1, 2, 3, and repeat 1, 2, 3. That is a Tisrajati Ekatana. Then you have Chatusrajati, which is 4, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you have Kantajati, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the most commonly used ones. Then you have for 7 and for 9 Sanketa Jatis and those. But mostly used are these 5. Now, we have, this is what I showed you was the Lagu in a beat. Then we have what is called a Dhrutam.